So I always start out all of my videos saying, hi, I'm Christina Carlyle. I'm a former fat girl turned nutritionist and a trainer here to help you reach your weight loss and wellness goals too, because that's what I do. I know what it's like to be healthy, but not happy about the way you look or just happy in general. I know what it's like to be fit, but be unhealthy and unhappy and doing it in unhealthy ways. Like you look good, but you don't feel good and you just can't maintain it and it makes you crazy, whether you're super regimented or obsessed calorie counting, or, you know, you're just out on a Friday night and you're sucking on a piece of lettuce when everybody's having burgers and beers. Like it's one thing to look good, but if you're not happy, if you can't maintain your lifestyle and your sanity, if it takes you in a negative direction, that's not good either. And I know I have experience with that. And I know what it's like to just struggle with eating healthy and exercise and motivation. And I get stories and emails every day, dozens of emails every day from complete strangers that tell me their stories and they ask me for help and they're struggling and they're hurting. So I wanted to make my video today about my story to explain why being so happy, healthy, and fit is so important, and my journey with it that inspired me to become a nutritionist and a trainer. I've made videos before about the story of how I became a nutritionist and a trainer. Like I stepped on the scale after the worst year of my life. I saw the biggest number I'd ever seen and I was like, oh my God, I gotta do something about this. Then I became a nutritionist and a trainer. But this is everything that happened before that, before the career. So I don't want you to think of me as your nutritionist or your trainer or your coach and your biggest cheerleader, which I am. And that's a job I take very seriously. I really want you to be successful. I want you to think of me as your former fat girl soul sister. We're at a pajama party right now, and I'm telling you my story. I don't want you to think of me like I'm here and you're here. We're peers. This is my struggle. And everybody I've worked with, by the way, who struggles consistently with food and exercise and self-esteem and body image and their weight. It all goes hand in hand. It's very much feelings-based, and half the time it's based on the problems start because of belief systems and associations with self-worth and self-esteem that happen at a young age, and also your belief systems and patterns with food. And this is all shaped as you're a child. And my struggle started when I was a child, no different from anybody else. So I went on my first diet when I was 11 years old, but I didn't go on my diet to lose weight. I went on my diet specifically because I wanted to love myself, because I didn't. So I'm gonna go all the way back to the very beginning. When I was 5 years old, I lived in Seven Valleys, Pennsylvania. That's where I was born and raised. And one day it had snowed, then rained, then snowed, then rained, then snowed, then rained. So there was like 3 feet of solid snow that you could walk across like ice. And my dad was like, let's go sledding. And I was like, hell yeah, me first. I was such a rambunctious, wild child, always up for a good time, just happy-go-lucky. I took my sister's coat. Mine was blue, hers was pink. I took my sister's coat because I wanted to go first. I jumped on the sled that was the shape of a contact lens. It's not a toboggan. It looks legit like a contact lens. And they were super fast and fun. And I got on it. And the last thing I remember is seeing my dad and sister going like this. And that was it. And the next thing I remember is hearing a nurse say, you're going to have an IV, sweetie. And I was like, she's like, you're going to feel a little bee sting. So she's starting an IV. Had no idea what happened. The next thing I remember is I woke up in a hospital room. And I saw my mom, and everything hurt. My entire head hurt. It felt like it was this big, and it was this big. So just to let you know what happened, I was going backwards on the sled. I see my dad and sister go like this. I turned around. I hit the tree face first. It was in the backyard. We now call it the tree of death. I hit my brain, so I had a traumatic brain injury, frontal lobe. This is where your happiness, depression, impulse control, emotion, anger, all of this happens right in here in the frontal lobe, which I smacked into a tree. They said it was the equivalent of a 5-year-old flying face first through a windshield without a seatbelt on at 25 miles an hour, just to give you a frame of reference. I also hit my nose. So my nose used to be like this. Now it has like a bump in it. And I also split my lip in half and off. So it took 4 surgeries to get my face the way it is today. I still have scars from like the bark of the tree. I feel like my head's this big. I had no idea what had happened. My mom looked like I've never seen her look before. like the stress on her face. Like, my baby's hurt. My baby's different now. Oh my God. My face was messed up. So she's trying to explain to me without and keeping it together, like, baby, you've been in an accident. You have a boo-boo on your face. Do you want to see your face? She's trying to find the words to like brace me for it. She did a great job, but there was nothing she could have said that would have braced me for what I saw. So my head was like this big, no joke. My lip was like this. It was black and blue, and it had stitches coming all over it. And you know when you get a bruise, you kind of start to turn yellow. So my neck and everything was yellow, and it looked like I took sandpaper and went like this. Scratches all over my face. My eyes were huge and swollen shut. And the most noticeable change for me was my mood. It was like that. Nothing was good anymore. Nothing was good. I was quick to anger. I was quick to resentment. But I saw the way that my family reacted. Like, it totally sent a shockwave through my entire family. My dad got so depressed. He felt so guilty. He like shut down. So instead of getting help for myself, I was saying, I'm not okay. Being pissed off and sad all the time. Instantaneously, when I saw my reflection for the first time, I'm like, damn. My inner dialogue went from, you're great, you're fine, you're a happy-go-lucky 5-year-old, to, you're ugly, you're a freak, you're a monster, you're not good enough anymore. Like, you're broken, like, you're fucked. That's the way I felt as a 5-year-old. It was terrible. But I saw how upset my family was, so I just pretended like nothing was wrong. And I pretended, but it was all an act. It was literally all an act. Sometimes I would get mad for no reason. Like, I had no real idea yet that I had a traumatic brain injury. The reason I'm telling you this is now that I'm 11 years old, okay, I'm deciding to go on a first diet. It's because I had already started to struggle and suffer with my sense of self-worth. I had 4 reconstructive surgeries total to get my face the way it is now. About 6 months after my last surgery, my family moved to Florida, which is where I grew up. I went to 8 grades 4 on through high school in Florida. And it wasn't easy for me being the new kid in Florida. I had to get glasses. Like, my vision started going down the tubes, which is no surprise. It wasn't related to the accident. Both of my parents are blind as a bat, so it was just, gonna happen. But puberty really did a number on me emotionally. Like, I developed early, but puberty for me, like, the hate I felt for myself, like, oh my God, now my body's changing and I have to deal with that pressure on top of the pressure I'm putting on myself every day. Staring at my nose and my scars in the mirror, just like, what if that accident hadn't happened? It wasn't even like the appearance. It was my mood. I never felt happy. I just felt like I was going through the motions of life without any desire to feel any emotion, because I felt like shit all the time. So now I'm in school. I decided to go on a diet. I do what everybody starts doing. I started eating less and exercising more, and my goal was to love myself. Well, when you start losing weight and it doesn't happen as quickly as you'd like it to, which doesn't happen for me, I'm sitting here eating everything low fat. We're going way back, like early 90s. That's when that low fat chemical shitstorm really started to happen in the food industry. But we didn't have internet back then. Like, information wasn't there, and I'm 11, just hoping for the best and reading tips out of magazines and just, what I see on TV. Eat less, exercise more, that's what I did. It didn't take very long for me to panic about it and really want to ramp up the results, so I would eat barely next to nothing and exercise like crazy. I would get to my goal weight, I'm like, cool, I can eat again. And I would eat, and it would be good to eat, it would feel great to eat, it tasted good to eat, and I'm like, okay, great, let's eat. And then the weight comes back, and I'm like, ugh, this frustrated child. So this went on for years, gaining, losing, doing tips and tricks, and I was doing like my mom's step aerobic stuff, like Billy Blanks, I was doing Tai Bo, Jane Fonda. I mean, I'm sure there was like some Richard Simmons in there. I mean, that's just the age. I mean, we're talking VHS, cassette, DVD, like VCR style workouts in my house every day. Sometimes up to 3 hours a day when I was really trying to take the fat off. Sometimes I would just stay in my bedroom and be depressed all day with bags of food, like anything I could get my hands on. I really started at this time to self-medicate with food because, you know, I felt alone. The classes I was in school, I had to take tests to see how I placed when I moved to Florida. So I had to take all these aptitude tests and to see how I placed. So I placed in a gifted kind of accelerated classes. So here I am isolated with these kids that are hyper intelligent, but I'm not trying to talk about Star Wars and Harvard and Yale and chess all the time. I'm trying to, you know, have like a cool conversation. And then I go back to my regular classes and all the girls were like this and like, oh my God, like, you know what I mean? And do you think he's cute? And I'm like, okay, I gotta get a little deeper than that. Give me some deepness. I need some deep depth. We gotta be able to have a conversation without me rolling my eyes. Like I need to have a conversation, but I also didn't want to go. I need an edge. You know what I mean? Like I need an edgy, and I didn't have any of that. Plus, my mom worked nights. She was an intensive care nurse, which is not an easy job. Plus, she worked the night shift. So when she was coming home from work, she's passing out. When I'm just coming home from school, she's waking up to go be up all night. She would have like a bowl of cereal as I'm coming home from school, just like, ugh. Felt like I had no social interaction, hated school, hated what was going on, and now here I am coming home and I just didn't feel like I had the support system I needed at home. Plus I was doing the whole I'm okay, I'm fine, leave me alone, like invisible thing. So that's, you know, was the recipe for me. The self-loathing, the isolation, the need for instant gratification, which food was now giving me with my yo-yo dieting, being isolated away from food for so long, and then coming back to it tastes good, and now food is now slowly but surely becoming an object that I'm about to abuse. I'm using it to feel better, okay? So, which is exactly what I started doing. I ended up gaining some weight. Now we're going into my freshman year of high school. I gained a lot of weight, and that's when shit really gets real with regards to how you look and how you're treated with the way you look and how you are and who you are. And I was always still a little self-conscious about it. So there was this group of mean girls that just decided to put a bullseye on my head and make my life a living hell. And I was like, okay, great. Well, maybe if I lose weight, they won't pick on me anymore. Like maybe if I'm like pretty and perfect and finally get perfect, like those girls in the magazines, like they always look like they're having fun. They always have something to do on a Friday night. I didn't have anything, nothing at home. I went to school, I did my thing, I got my grades, I got perfect grades, but I was very much in the perfect invisible cycle. I'm good, just leave me alone, because I was in so much pain and I didn't even have anybody to talk to about it, and I didn't feel like anybody cared. So I am now teetering into disordered eating. I'm panicking. I'm eating next to nothing. I'm eating like an apple and a half a sandwich a day, and I'm exercising 3 hours a day. I got down to about 95 pounds. Just to give you a frame of reference, I'm 5'1", and I probably weigh 118 right now. So yeah, I was tiny, and I've been the same height since I was 11, by the way. So I've been 5'1", same build since I was 11. So I started this anorexia kick, but it wasn't sustainable. It's really not sustainable to starve yourself, and I literally felt starving. I would go to bed starving. This, by the way, is not a how-to. This is if you're watching this, your child, you're 11, do not do this. Do not. I get letters all the time from kids begging me for help, telling me that they're like eating 500 calories a day, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't. But I've been there. But if you are watching this, do not teeter on the path of disordered stuff. Like, this is me sharing my story. This is not me being a role model or coaching you. Let me be really crystal clear about that. Because once you start this road, it's really hard to get off of it, and it sucks. So I became anorexic. That's how it started. And then I would get panicked and I would eat, and then I just couldn't stop eating, because it's like, damn, I'm having sugar, I'm having carbs, I'm having salt, I'm having sweet, I'm having fat, I'm having things that I haven't had in a long time. My brain links up with it like a Christmas tree, because even though I'm choosing these like processed things like pretzels and chips and stuff back in the day, I mean, it's all genetically modified. It's terrible. And it wasn't soon after that my health started being affected. So it kicked off my depression into hyperdrive. I would have crazy mood issues. I should also mention that I had heart surgery around this time. I'd be sitting there 1 minute, everything's fine, I'm having a normal conversation. All of a sudden my chest, I would look down, I would see my boob like shaking, like in and out. Like if you've ever seen Jim Carrey on The Mask when he sees Cameron Diaz and how hot she was, like his heart is going like this. That's how I felt my heart was. So I'm at this physical for this dance team trial. I'm like, yo, when you check my heart, can you see like something's wrong? So he makes me go see a specialist before signing the slip. I go see a specialist the next day. Now I'm getting hooked up to an EKG. My EKG is abnormal. I'm now the next day at Health Park Hospital in Fort Myers, Florida, and they're referring me to All Children's Hospital in St. Petersburg. I ended up staying the next night. Okay, so I got my physical on like a Tuesday. Now it's Friday. I'm in St. Pete Old Children's Hospital in a Ronald McDonald House, of all places, meeting a child cardiologist telling me that I'm going to be having surgery on my heart that week. And I had to wear this little thing to capture my heart shifting. So I had Wolff-Parkinson-White syndrome. So just so you know, my heart, every heart has 4 chambers, but normally your heart has one little pathway that causes it to beat and keeps the blood flowing through the 4 chambers properly. Mine had 2. So sometimes my heart would be beating normally and fine, and sometimes something would trigger it. Stress, caffeine, an eating disorder would trigger the second pathway. So sometimes my heart would be chilling at 70 beats a minute, and all of a sudden the blood would get isolated in my heart, and my pulse would go up to 470 beats a minute, like that. There was a 33% chance I could have dropped dead every time it happened, and it happened all the time. It happened before my eating disorder too, by the way, but definitely when I was getting into the disordered eating, it aggravated it. So now I'm dealing with anesthesia, major heart surgery. I'm trying to lose weight. The anesthesia really did a number on me. Apparently, when you have a traumatic brain injury, like anesthesia hits you the wrong way very easily, really can change the way you feel and think. So I got really depressed after my accident, but now I'm really loving food because food's what I've been using to bring me back up. So now I'm like, okay, panicking, how do I get the weight off? My heart is now fine. But I was still very much obsessed with losing weight and the number on the scale and tethering my happiness and self-worth to that number. So eventually I started throwing up, and then I was on this bulimia kick for a long time. My bulimia actually got better and actually went away as I turned 16, 17, 18 because I had more independence. I could get the hell away from my parents, which is what I did the second I could drive. I had 3 jobs. So now I had things to keep me busy, but I always kind of had issues with dealing with my feelings, especially if I'm depressed or stressed or feeling alone and isolated. So fast forward now to 24. I was in college. I was about to graduate my senior year. My best friend in college was a perfect 10 playmate. I met her my freshman year in an accounting class, and I was like, holy shit, this girl's beautiful. Have you ever seen like one of those girls? Like, it's like the girl in the magazine in real life. I was like, Jesus Christ, she's gorgeous and she's awesome. And we sat next to each other. We became friends. We were hanging out. And she was actually showing me her modeling stuff and how she posed for Playmate. And no offense, I don't care, eating disorder or not, you've never been on a diet before in your life. When you're hanging around a perfect 10, you know, you need to tighten up, which is what I started doing. But I didn't want to do it in a panicked, crazed way because she didn't. She made it seem kind of effortless. You just eat healthy, and I wasn't, you know. Especially when you're in high school and or college and high school, like the fast food, the convenience food, the lifestyle, the party, like all of that. It was very much Charlie Sheen meets Paula Deen for me, especially if I'm having a bad day. But now I meet this girl and I'm like, damn, you've inspired me. Let's get it right and get it tight. So this is when I started learning about food and exercise. Again, the internet's really not a thing. We just now had Google, and I remember using it to write like term papers, to get a bibliography. But it wasn't like social networks or any of that, or blogging really even existed at this point. It was just wild. So I started reading a lot. and going to the gym a lot. And I would get frustrated because I'd be going to the gym and doing all these things. I'm actually doing it the same way she's doing it. We would work out together, but I felt like I was getting big and bulky. She's getting itty bitty. I'm like, damn. I would panic a little bit more. It would trigger me, but instead of going in a negative way, I wanted to figure it out in a happy, healthy, positive way. But I still kind of struggled with food. You know, just because you decide to be a fit girl and look like a 10 doesn't mean like your inner fat girl like does not like cake and cheese and pancakes and beer and like all those things that happen, you know, when you're in your fat girl self. So I remember asking her for a diet. She gave me this strict diet that she used to do when she was competing, and she would compete. Like, not only would she model, she would compete in shows, and you get down to like 13% body fat and have like this like sickest body. And I'm like, okay, well, this is what you're doing. I'll do it. And that freaking diet, I call it a psycho diet because it was very limited and it was very restrictive and it was very inauthentic and inorganic with regards to weight loss. Yes, it worked, but it wasn't good. I was not happy. I was getting fit, wasn't healthy, it was like chicken and tilapia every 2 hours, and you're supposed to eat when you're not hungry and not eat when you're starving. And it just really triggered me, and I kind of went, you know what, screw this. And I went on like a tangent a little bit. It was really hard for me to get it together. Even though I knew about food and exercise and I'm now being healthy, she and I kind of went our different ways. She ended up getting married and I graduated from college, and I actually went to college for real estate and finance. So I was making money the entire time I was in school, investing in real estate. And then the bubble burst, and now I'm like, oh, like I literally walk across the stage. I'm no longer a college student. I no longer have a career. All of my personal money is funny now. Like, I'm upside down on multiple properties. I'm losing my ass. And I decided to start a business, and I did. And it just failed miserably. It was cell phone stores. They were credit-based activations, but the credit from the collapse of the economy really hadn't caught up to anybody yet. So it was basically like I just put all my money on the Titanic and then steered the Titanic right into the iceberg. Like, that's what my life was. So when my stores closed and I'm standing there, it's the heaviest I've ever been. It was 152. So I've been everything from itty bitty 95 to 152. And I'm like 117, 118 right now. That's where I like to stay. That's where I can maintain my sanity and be happy and healthy and fit. I'm not meticulously counting calories. I'm not super restrictive. I'm not making myself. So at 24 years old, I found myself without a career, without money. And I'm tucking my tail in between my legs, and I'm moving back in with my parents. And this time, normally like living with my parents triggers me, but I just really needed like to chill for 6 months. That's all I wanted. So I'm now living with my parents, and I'm going to the gym a lot. I didn't have a job. I didn't even care. I just wanted to get right with myself. I wanted to get my mind and my body right and tight because I felt so depressed, and I actually wanted to work on myself for the first time. So I started seeing a psychologist who was giving me tips, and I was working on a lot of self-help stuff in addition to doing the dieting and the exercise, following an actual healthy nutrition plan, eating organic food, reading nonstop about health and exercise and wellness and mindset and anything and everything I could find, always just in a book or listening to an audiobook or a lecture about nutrition and mindset. So when I put the food with the exercise, with the mindset, I found when I was motivated and I was actually employing and engaging in these behavior modification techniques, that was what finally gave me the edge that I had been missing. Like, I knew how to diet and I knew how to exercise, but I didn't know how to silence that little devil on my shoulder that was like, hey, you can eat. And it was just like seducing me with these excuses. Like, just because you decide to be a fit girl doesn't mean that inner fat girl goes away. I call mine Nadia. Like, she's bad. All she wants to do is drink and eat and do nothing and skip the gym. She hates the gym. Like, she doesn't want to do any of that. And then I have this other really awesome side of me that all she wants to do is work on being happy, healthy, and fit. But you don't really stay in any one of those for too long, at least not for me, when you have a freaking traumatic brain injury and like decades of like distress and trauma, and just I can't follow programs like anybody else with my heart surgery, my allergies, and my intolerances, and I mean, this is years ago, before I even got in my car accident and had my back messed up. And I feel like a lot of people don't understand that. Just because you want to lose weight doesn't mean life's not going to happen. It doesn't mean that you're going to be able to tap out, because it only works if you work it. If you're not working on your happiness, your health, and your fitness, the unhappy, unhealthy, unfit, fat girl side of you is going to pop up. It's going to start to make you spiral. At least it did for me. So mindset for me, coupled with the food and the exercise, gave me the edge I needed to really be successful and finally take the weight off and keep it off for years. People at the gym started noticing me transform, because I did lose 30 pounds in 60 days. And people were like, how the hell did you do that? And by the way, I wasn't motivated. I was self-disciplined. Motivation comes and goes. I never feel motivated. Since my injury, like I rarely, it's like the stars have to align for me to feel genuinely, authentically happy and motivated, since I had my brain injury. So it's very much self-discipline and doing it when you don't wanna, and thinking of the positive things so you take action in spite of, you know, this little devil on your shoulder that's trying to seduce you and keep you stuck. I mean, that's the only way you can change, whether you want to or not. So it wasn't until I got my mind right that I was able to get and keep my body tight. And that was the philosophy I had with everybody I worked with, because everybody knows you have to eat healthy and exercise. But so many people I was working with at this time struggled to do it. By the way, at this time, I was now starting to earn certifications. I was a personal trainer, I was an aerobics instructor, I was a sports nutritionist, then I became a weight loss and wellness coach, and then I became a holistic health coach. Then I started getting into just like all this ancestral stuff and epigenetics that I learn on a continuing basis through lectures and books and webinars that I read about them and watch and listen to. Always just trying to learn new tips to not only help myself, but to help you and help you balance and live a more happy, healthy, and fit lifestyle, and create programs and content delivered to creating like the best stuff that actually works. It's been proven to work, and I actually work before suggesting to you, and work with people offline with it before I even put it up for sale, because I want to make sure my stuff's good and it's going to get you the results that you want, the results that you're working for, because I know what it's like to struggle and not have guided help. It's very frustrating. It makes life very difficult. And I just love being able to help people do that. Like, helping you helps me. It really does. So any tip or trick or blog post or recipe that I feel is great and that you'll actually enjoy, that's why I share what I share on my blog and on my YouTube videos. And I always say it only works if you work it. So work it, you're worth it. And I have to say that stuff to myself too, because there are a lot of days when it doesn't feel worth it. Even though I get so much validation, it's very rewarding for me to help people. Like, I still struggle with my happy every day, and I will till the day I die. I refuse to take medications, and even when I did, they don't do anything. So it's always constant daily practice. But that's my story of how, you know, I started and how my story progressed, and I got to where I'm at now with regards to my training business. And if you would have told me that I'd be doing this for a living now, I would have laughed. I never thought, I mean, I can remember a day when I couldn't even cook because the food was so triggering for me. Now to be on the other side, completely, you know, good, in control of my eating, it's great. It's not always sunshine and roses, but it sure as hell beats the way I used to live. It was terrible. It was absolutely terrible to hate yourself and to not be like happy and not like secure in your own skin. It's not a good feeling. That's it. I hope you liked my story, and I will see you next time right here, same place. Bye.